This is possibly the best Anchorage we've ever been to. There was so much more than we expected. We found this place using Google Maps. You see, we're on a mission to seek out as many new anchorages as possible to then upload to Godot.com and share with you all. So much happened in the few days we stayed here, from 2 kids getting themselves cut off by the tide as night fell. We discovered why this stunning beach is considered one of the most dangerous in the country. I found out I have a life-changing medical condition, and we hide out from another storm at anchor here too, as well as so much more, such as this amazing underwater world which exists here too. So welcome to Anstey's Cove. One of the things we've learned about hiding out from strong winds in anchorages is that high ground alone doesn't always give you full protection from the wind. In fact, in some places, it's made the wind feel accelerated even. When high cliffs are also covered in trees, we found the experience in the anchorage has been orders of magnitude more pleasant on board, as the trees seem to diffuse the strength of the wind. So when we were searching out another new anchorage ahead of more strong winds, we used Google Earth to not only find somewhere we haven't been before, but somewhere that offered the tree protection as well as the ability to get hanked ashore nice and easily. As a bonus, I wanted to find some good lobster hunting grounds. And another thing I've learned over the past couple of years is that whenever you find evidence of rockfalls, you'll almost certainly find lobsters. And this place looked like it ticked all the boxes. So we left where we were in Fishcombe Cove and headed over to Anstey's Cove. When we first arrived, there were several other boats here. The anchorage was full of life, with a lovely cafe, the only shop in the entire area for that matter. Full of customers, people relaxing on the sun lounges, enjoying the view, beachgoers to rock climbers. This place was bustling with life, yet it didn't feel in any way overcrowded. There were just little things going on in each pocket of the cove. However, when the sun began to set, the cove very much began to thin out, until we were the very last people here. Or so we thought. Carly overheard some shouting just a minute ago. We're the only boat in this anchorage. I'm like, what the hell's this? And it looks like they've been cut off by the tide. Some kids are having a bit of a party, and I think they've completely misjudged the tide. I think they're lucky we're here, quite frankly. Okay. To the rescue. All right, let's go get them. Looks like they were on a bit of an adventure. So there's this house here. Looks like somebody lives there. In fact, one of the locals earlier said they were not just here all summer, but they were here all winter, during easterly winds as well, which frankly seems absolutely mental. You misjudged the tide. There was more here at one point, and it's been cut off by a landslide. Some very, very steep cliffs. What's your name?
Rue.
Rue?
R-double-O.
Good name, Rue. And
Yeah, I'm Louis.
well, it was a pleasure to rescue you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you. You look like you were having an awesome time, right up until the tide messed it up. But you're safe. All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
No worries. Good luck with your exam results too. The next day, we would find out from one of the local residents that you can actually walk up the steep, albeit potentially unstable cliffs if you want to. And I needed to go and see a doctor, which meant leaving Kadoa and our dinghy for a few hours, potentially through a tide cycle. Now this is important because one beach leads not only to the cafe, shop, toilets, and water supply, but to steps that will take you all the way up to the road. But there is a catch. Getting a heavy metal dinghy up and down that beach at low tide can be really hard work, as we found out the day before, trying to get dingback hauled over large and very slippery boulders. The beach on the other side, by contrast, is incredibly easy to land on, although the steps that once connected it all together have since been destroyed in a rockfall. And even though getting down at low tide isn't too much trouble, if you're prepared to ignore the safety warnings that is, at high tide, that path is completely cut off. Just to be on the safe side. When you get up to the proper recognised path, take a left and you'll hit the road. So after speaking to one of the locals, we decided to head up to the doctor's by hiking the side of a steep cliff.
I'm literally on all fours because I don't trust myself not to fall off the cliff as I nearly fall off the cliff. Okay. This is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Hank wasting no time at all there.
After a fairly tiring hike up, we headed towards town, walking through a dense woodland. Hank loves walking through the woods, so whenever we get the chance, we are sure to take him. Eventually, we get to town where I see the doctor, who imminently books me in for a scan and then sends me off to buy a blood pressure monitor so that I can record 2 readings a day between now and my scan.
Stage 2.
After a long walk into town and having left Godoa in a new Anchorage for quite some time now, we decided to treat ourselves to one of Hank's favourite modes of travel back, the open-top double-decker bus. One of the major problems we come across in many of these beautiful anchorages is how rolly it can sometimes be. This is often caused by the wind and the swell coming in from different directions. This year we're experimenting with different tactics to try and mitigate this situation and keep our bow pointed into the swell. Like here, where our friends from the YouTube channel 5 Go Sailing are having a not so pleasant time of it, whilst we experimented with a simple swell bridle to try and take the edge off. If you're interested in a video specifically about what we've been doing to tackle rolling in an anchorage, then let us know in the comments below. And if there's enough interest, then we'll be sure to make a video for you all. After some slightly worrying news from the doctor, I decided to try and take my mind off of things by going and exploring the underwater world here. After nearly suffering a blackout diving in Swanage after my dive watch broke, I was happy to have a new one, which I would strictly follow, as you'll shortly see. The visibility for spearfishing wasn't amazing, but there are so many interesting structures under the water that I decided to detach my spear and shine a light in some of the underwater holes where I shortly spotted my first lobster. After going to the surface to catch my breath, I headed back down to figure out a plan, and this lobster was already making a run for it. Well, that one was nice and easy. I came across this discarded fishing gear and decided to clear it up. I'd swapped out my freshly caught lobster for a foraging hook and headed back down, where I spotted another set of lobster claws. But I was at the very end of my breath hold, so I marked the spot with my hook before heading back to the surface to breathe. Well, the tide was making it hard to stay put, and the visibility was deteriorating. So I sent my dive torch down, which was attached to my float line, to hopefully make it easier to get back down to the right spot. After strictly following my breathe up time, I headed back down to find the lobster was still there. Next, I gently tapped the back of the lobster's tail to entice him to come out of his hole and turn to face the intruder behind him. Now is my moment to grab him. Amazing! No bycatch, no additional carbon pumped into the atmosphere, just wild caught, organic, sustainable fresh food. Just the way nature intended. With another storm heading our way soon, we decided to make the most of the weather we still had and have lunch on the beach. Whilst cooking our catch of the day, we were approached by a young man also called Dominic who had never eaten lobster before and couldn't believe we actually lived on a boat.
Randomly on the beach, I met another guy called Dominic. What are the chances? I've known like 2 in my life. He's never eaten lobster before, so this is a real treat.
Try a bit like that, and then if you like it, we can put it in a wrap.
Go on, then.
Sure.
Try
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That's all right. It's got a little bit of butter, chilli and garlic, so I hope you like chilli and garlic.
Was that yeah or impolite?
It's so good.
Oh, good.
So good.
Excellent.
All right, wrap the man one up.
Right, do you want to take your one? And then...
That's the one.
Along with our friends from the sailing channel 5 Go Sailing, it was time to find out how this anchorage performed in strong winds. Everyone else has cleared out, leaving just the 2 of us here. We made the same preparations as we did for the previous storm we anchored out in, but thankfully, This one was due to take place during the day. We removed the magnetic solar panels, lashed down the wings, stowed away the EcoFlow before letting our full anchor scope out, which will give us 6 times scope at high tide, which will hopefully be enough to hold us in place.
Let's get you off before these winds kick off too much. Good boy. Even when the weather is bad, look at the colour of the water. So good.
It was time to get as much energy out of Hank as possible. And when time is of the essence, there's only one thing for it.
And as you can probably tell by the splatter on the lens, it's already started to rain, so we thought we'd do the last few ball throws down here. All right, we're nearly done. Now it's back to the boat to brace for the winds. My phone. Really want the internet though. Come on, let's get you guys out of the rain. The wind's blowing a little bit, but nothing like we expected. Now, either the weather isn't as bad as predicted, it hasn't got here yet, or, this is the one I'm kind of hoping for, this Anchorage really is offering amazing protection. But I know that 5Go Sailing were like a little bit nervous about being in strong winds in an anchorage. And I guess when all your worldly possessions are on a boat and you've got 3 kids to look after as well, it'd be a little bit more daunting a prospect, I suppose. But this isn't half bad, you know.
The storm passed through and we barely felt it. Anstey's Cove offered possibly the best protection from a southwesterly that we have ever experienced. The crew over at 5Go Sailing asked us about where to find water here, and you can fill up some jerry cans from the tap behind the cafe. But we came up with a much easier option for our boat neighbours to fill their tanks.
One water maker if you require. Oh, my word.
And none of them had ever tried drinking seawater.
Darker green is the sweet spot it wants to stay in, so it'll normally overshoot and then you'll drop it back. Oh wow! Weird, isn't it? Yeah. Go on then. Your seawater.
Oh my god, it's so nice.
So nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have another drink.
Mads from Sail Life has inspired others, not just us, all around the world. We got the Trident. You did that, Mads. Not just that. You doing your YouTube videos, you've made a difference in people's lives. Not just ours, but the ripple effect. You've touched people all over the world. It seems like a nice thing to think about.
With their tanks all topped up, Kelly and Hugh very kindly invited us over for dinner with the family. It turned out that none of them had ever eaten lobster either, so I hopped back into the water so that we had something to add to the feast as well.
That is the first time I've ever eaten lobster. I've seen it on a menu.
Oh, no.
It always looks too expensive.
It is too expensive.
It is. This is incredible. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Good, isn't it?
With the storm passed over, bellies full of food, after a lovely evening of socialising with our fellow cruisers, we took Hank to shore for his final leg stretch of the day, where I would also take my final blood pressure measurement of the day.
I mean, this has got to be the most calming, relaxing part of the whole day. As at the end of the day, you've used all your energy on the beach, the sound of the waves, nature. 162 over 106.
That's your highest so far.
Yeah.
Flipping it, 162.
Safe to say this is not the result I was hoping for. Regardless of my newly discovered blip in the road, we will press on and continue to build, comforted in the knowledge that we're not alone in this mission.